जी
माननीय मंत्री जी,
धन्यवाद सर. I specifically thank Honorable Speaker and also all the Honorable members for having agreed to have the discussion on the finance bill today being a Friday. I also thank all the members who were considerate enough to have the private members bill shifted to some other alternative day. And the reason for this, in spite of some of the members who had reservations, the reasons for this is, sir, because we are already on the last week of the month, and ideally by 1st April, I would like to have all the departments and ministries receive their funds, but the process of approval after this will have to go through several stages and also the Rajya Sabha, and that is why today, with your kind permission, we are able to handle it on a Friday afternoon. And I, in fact, from my heart, thank all the members who have taken the time to be here and participate in the discussions. More than 20 members have spoken on this finance bill today. I just want to start with the finance bill, the provisions for taxation. Other than the discussion on the budget, this discussion on the finance bill, like the way many members have seen through the kind of details and be able to highlight what has been said in the finance bill, actually highlights the way in which, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic and aiding recovery, we have taken a conscious decision. And I hope I'm able to articulate this fact to all the members, that we have taken a conscious position not to fund the recovery through any additional taxes. And that is why last year and this year, the continuity in not bringing newer taxation is something which I would like to place on the record of this House, because I want to draw on the reports which have come out of the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which very clearly said at least 32 countries increased various tax rates during the pandemic. India did not. 32 countries during the pandemic increased personal income, meaning tax on personal income, or tax on corporate income, or environment-related taxes were raised, or health-related taxes were raised, or excise duties were raised. We have not done that last year, nor have we done it this year. And which are these countries which had to depend on tax increases to meet the expenses of the pandemic? They are no less developed countries, absolutely developed countries, large countries like Germany, France, Canada, UK, and Russia, apart from very many smaller economies, all of which depended on increasing taxation to meet the demands of the COVID pandemic and also the recovery requirements. So I would like to place that on the table, because the clear instruction, first guidance, in fact, I received while preparing the 21 budget and preparing 22 budget was, no, we shall not take the taxation route. I remember the media last year was also suggesting that there could be a COVID tax, but we didn't resort to any one of these steps to burden the common man. And as a result, therefore, this finance bill has been received as being one of the boring ones, one of the insipid ones, one of them which had nothing great about it. But it is indeed, I would think, a budget which did not burden the common public, but yet put the money where the multiplier will be the maximum, where the infrastructure creation of assets will happen, and on that, we did not come up with small allowances in the budget, but a big-time increase in the infrastructure spending. There are more to say on that, sir, but I would come to that a bit later after I answer the specific questions which members have raised on issues pertaining to the features of the budget. I'll start with member Gaurav Gogoi, who actually has been providing and in his comments came up with a lot of positive suggestions as to how we can take some of these issues. I just wanted to specifically tell him that the corporate tax reduction has actually been carried out as you observed it. There is no middle class relief for the middle class. Has there been any study undertaken to assess impact of corporate rate reduction is one of the questions which you've raised. Sir, through you I would like to inform the honourable member, for individuals, due to rebate, they don't pay any tax if income is below 5 lakhs. This is well known. This is very well known. Those opting for tax savings, of course, pay no tax even on higher income, as they can claim deduction for tax saving and for bringing their income below 5 lakhs. For those who are not opting for any of these exemptions, last year we came out with a separate track, a second alternative tax saving scheme. We have come up with that kind of a income tax layer with which they can pay lesser tax and benefit from it. But about the corporate tax reduction, sir, it's actually helped the economy, it's helped the government, and it's also helped the companies, because we are now starting to see the positive impact. In the year 18-19, our corporate tax collection was only about 6.6 lakh crores. Then COVID happened, so you couldn't have expected anything to come through there. In spite of tax reduction and COVID impact, we have already collected corporate tax of 7.3 lakh crores till yesterday. So the reduction in corporate tax has actually now given us the reward, in spite of the intervening year being under COVID. So I wanted to inform the Honourable Member Gogoi on the corporate tax. It is actually also helping the flow of money and also making sure that the health of the companies are improving, thereby improving the possibilities of greater employment. Member Gogoi also voiced the concern, which I thought even as we presented the budget, we had explained it possibly last year and again this year, that particularly on umbrella, this question of increasing custom duty on umbrella. Sir, I think I did explain it, but I want to reiterate the point. Umbrellas are manufactured in India, and nearly 25 million pieces of umbrella, individual umbrellas, are imported every year into this country. And they come from one country. This 25 million pieces of umbrella come from one country. Do we need it? Can we not manufacture? We are manufacturing. Can we not strengthen that? And therefore, we have imposed this custom duty. This is only to encourage the MSMEs who are producing it. So then the other question was raised about revocation of the ADD and CVD on steels, whether it is permanent. So the ADD and CVDs, the countervailing duties on steel, have been revoked to provide relief to the user industry, because I'm sure all honourable members see that integrated steel manufacturers are very buoyant now. They're able to export a lot. In fact, they're seeing unprecedented size and quantum of export. And therefore, today's steel has become probably expensive for many of our downstream industries. So we have revoked the CVD or the ADD to provide relief to our user industry, which suffers because of the increased price of steel, and the rising in the price of steel doesn't seem to look to get abated sooner, and therefore we wanted to be supportive of the MSME and therefore allowed to revoke the ADD. So I just want to make sure that Honourable Member Gogoi on his concerns is addressed. So then there were issues about IFSC, which again Member Gaurav Gogoi raised. IFSC is a premier centre through which global financial companies are coming into India. We are seeing a rapid change in terms of the kind of uses through which IFSC is benefiting all of us. Very good results are being shown. Totally 21 banks have got licenses. Total banking asset size has increased more than 25 billion US dollars. Asset size alone has increased $25 billion. Then total banking transactions has crossed $156 billion US. 2 stock exchanges have also opened with daily trading value of index derivatives of 13.14 billion US dollars, and daily trade value of currency derivatives are of the level of 13 million US dollars. Commodity derivatives are at 174 million US dollars. So the footfall, the extent of business and the coverage and the kind of generation of activity are distinctly there for all of us to see. More than 50 funds have registered themselves in the IFSC. Amount committed by the private equity and venture capital is about 3.8 billion US dollars. Hedge funds have committed 845 million US dollars, and total amount committed by the AIFs, alternative investment funds, is to the extent of 4.6 billion US dollars. 19 insurance companies have started operation in the IFSC, and they have underwritten insurance premium of more than 300 million US dollars, including by intermediaries. So the progress that we are seeing in the IFSC, because this has been an issue on which every budget we seem to ask questions and also answer them, saying, you are supporting IFSC. Has it really shown all the difference? Has it made a difference to the kind of concessions made? Yes, more than adequately. The fiscal concessions given have shown us tangible results in the IFSC. So on virtual digital currency, a lot of members have spoken. One aspect which was raised was government is giving a mixed signal. There doesn't seem to be a clarity. And this was raised by quite a lot of members. Supriya Sule ji raised it. Ritesh Pandey ji raised it. Pinaki ji raised it. So I just want to say, there is no confusing signals. We are very clear that there are consultations going on as to whether we want to regulate it, as to whether we want to regulate it to some extent or really very much or totally ban it, are all after the consultation, which will be concluded, and once it's concluded, the matter will come out. But till then, we are taxing it also because there's a lot of reported activity happening there. A lot of transactions are happening, and from the way the concerns being expressed by several members, there is definitely a commonplace knowledge that a lot of exchanges are happening, people are putting money, people are taking money, people are creating assets, and the assets are being sold and bought. So obviously government made its position clear, saying we shall tax the money being generated out of it, and that is why we have come out with the proposal to tax at 30%. And also the TDS has been brought in. Like always, TDS is more for tracking. It's not an additional tax, it's not a new tax, it is a tax which is going to help people to track it, but at the same time, for the payer, for the person who's paid the 1% TDS, he can always reconcile it with the total tax that he has to pay to the government. Minus it if he's paid more, or add it if he has to pay additionally. So there is no new taxation because of the TDS, but the TDS principle has always been same, and that probably is also one of the reasons why the tax base has widened, not here on the digital, but in general, the tax base has been widening, where we had only about 5 point something earlier to start with in 2014. We are now touching 9.1 crore people, and that is because we are able to find the money trail of people who seem to be spending money, who file assessments sometimes, but who don't pay even if they are expected to pay. So TDS is always one legitimate way through which we are tracking the transactions and therefore being helpful to widen the base. Sir, I'm just asking your guidance, sir. Earlier, once you had requested me not to answer issues raised by members who are not present in the House. Should I do it or should I not? And if I don't, I can always straight go to members who are sitting here for whom I can always answer. On the strict provisions of the GST, Member Supriya Sule had raised a question saying these provisions which lead to imprisonment and even imprisonment being laid as a punishment for mistaken entries. So I would like to clarify here that there is only one section, which is Section 132 in the CGST Act, which provides for imprisonment in specific cases. And the specific cases are what? Evasion of tax, availing fraudulent input tax credit, deliberately tampering of financial records, false information with the intent to evade payment of tax. These are the specific items under which, after proper adjudication, imprisonment is done if it is necessary to be taken as a step. Imprisonment is only in cases of serious nature, such as this, and not for minor mistakes or wrong entries. So, in normal compliances cases, where records are maintained, where furnishing of returns happen, no imprisonment is ever invoked. Further, the GST law also does not provide for imprisonment in cases where the amount of tax evaded or the ITC availed and the availed and utilized is less than the threshold limit of 1 crore. So anything below it is anyway not going to be taken up for imprisonment. These provisions were made as per the recommendation of the GST Council, where states are also equally present, sir. And in fact, that one line is actually the answer or my response for every such suggestion which has come on the GST, inclusive of Honourable Member N.K. Premachandran, where GST-related several suggestions have come, also commenting on the amendments which we have brought in this finance bill about those amendments related to GST. They have not been brought by me. They are not brought by Ministry of Finance. They are brought by us post the GST Council's suggestion, post the GST Council saying, yes, this should go through, so we are bringing it in the finance bill. So it's not being brought by the central government. So PMLA, ED has all naturally attracted a lot of attention and also observations made by honourable members. I'm in particular referring to arrests made under PMLA without even registration of an FIR. I want to address that specific question raised by Honourable Member Supriya, that first of all, offences under the PMLA are offences invariably linked to some other offence which is listed in the schedule of the Act. So unless there is an offence for which there is an FIR, for which something else has already commenced, on which, let us say, the CBI or somebody else has acted, a predicate offence, which is what the ED deals with, cannot be picked up. So ED is never first to come into the scene. ED always comes in following the trail of the main offence, which is taken up by some other FIR, and post that, when the trail goes on and you realize money has been laundered, the PMLA can be invoked, then comes the ED. So ED is never the first one in the scene. If you see ED, be sure there's something else already with you. So Midun Reddy ji has spoken about several things about faceless assessment. So Midun Reddy ji has raised questions about, and also Pinaki Mishra ji has raised questions about faceless assessments or seeing frequent amendments. I'd like to assure the honourable members that the faceless assessment has been well received. People are relieved that they don't have to go to the offices. But if there are amendments, it's more because we just want to ensure that there are no loose ends, and where actually eventually after the faceless assessment has gone through stage 1, stage 2, and actually there is a need for some personal interaction at the final stages. We want to come in, we make a small amendment. So these amendments have been proposed in the bill to ensure that the taxpayer who wants to have a hearing at the eventual final stage, having gone through everything, he gets a hearing through video conference. So these kind of changes are more for the facilitation. There was also this question about a retrospective aspect which is part of this bill, and that is only because one particular issue where the surcharge on tax and cess on tax have been over some years, if I can use the word, misused, where people have treated it as their exemptions or expenditure, business expenditures are undertaken, and therefore they think that it can be used for deleting that level of income from their taxable income. So that has become a very, very confusing point on which people have gone to courts also. So that amendment with a retrospective effect has been brought more for clarity. And that is not going to burden the taxpayer, because what we've done is, please approach from your side claiming that this is shown as undisclosed income. And if you come on your own, there is no penalty. We treat it again, and the local commissioner of income tax will be able to reassess your income, including that which has been otherwise shown as expenditure, business expenditure. And the income now reassessed, you can pay up what has got to be paid legitimately as tax. There is no penalty if you come on your own. And unless we take it back to the time from when this misuse has started, there will always be a hiatus, and that hiatus will lead to confusion. Some people will continue to benefit from that misuse, and the others would have done it fairly. So it is only for that explanatory purpose that retrospective aspect has been brought in. Tax rationalization, sir, I think we've started doing from the time for the direct taxation. We've started doing it from the corporate tax business, and also for the income tax, where we gave a second parallel track. And for the GST, we have a group of ministers headed by our chief minister who is looking into it so that we can get back to being revenue neutral, rationalize the number of slabs that we have. So Pinaki Mishra ji also asked about the black money in the economy. Very few taxpayers are paying. I think I partly answered this by saying 5 crore taxpayers were there a couple of years ago. Now it's gone up to 9 crores. We have taken many steps, sir, for widening and deepening of the tax base. We have reduced tax rates and removed exemptions. And through technology, I place a lot of emphasis on this. Through technology, we have also made compliance easy, tax payment is making headway, and also assessment is made easier. So all this has brought in a greater buoyancy like never before. I would think when people accept the way in which technology is giving us greater room to operate, we will have the base widen a lot more. Sir, I partly referred to also Sri N.K. Premchandran ji talking about GST is not simple. And he invoked the statement of the former finance minister, Sri Jaitley, saying, no, it will be a very simple tax. Definitely, difficulties which were there, we have periodically sat with the stakeholders and tried removing it. Nil return under GST, both GSTR 3B as well as GSTR 1 can be filed without logging in onto the GST portal by a simple SMS through mobile. So if the portal through which you had to do it is a bit cumbersome for you, there is also an alternative way by using the SMS. But the other issues related to the CGST Act and items that has got to be looked at for differential rate, I would go back to the GST Council's suggestions which are being brought in here. They are not mine. I just want to highlight that. So other than that, I think members who had raised some of the very significant issues are not here. So going by your advice and also keeping the constraint in mind, I just want to be sure that I don't take... So I won't go into the details of questions that they had asked. Sir, one last point I want to emphasize here. As I said, we started by saying that we have not brought in extra burden. And I know not just during the discussion of the finance bill, but even otherwise, people have been saying, how could you raise taxes? How could you raise the fuel price? How could you? Sir, global situation, war-like situation, is not a time when we are looking at raising. And it has nothing to do with the election time. If the oil marketing companies, the oil ministers seated here, think that they're procuring on a 15-day average higher rate, obviously we will have to bear. And this war, which is happening in Ukraine, the impact of that is on all the countries. Supply chains are disrupted, particularly of crude oil and so on. So I would just very quickly recall one based on the crude and the war-like situation, when India is very globally connected in the value chains. If even in 1951, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru could say that a Korean war can affect Indian inflation, I will have to say it, because war anywhere can affect us. Today, in a globally connected day, it will affect, definitely. At that time, did he say, sorry for my Hindi, but the speech was in Hindi, so I'm going to read it in Hindi. Pardon me, those who are Hindi. दाम बढ़ते जाते हैं, quote, दाम बढ़ते जाते हैं, खाने का दाम बढ़ता है, राशनिंग और क्या-क्या बातें आई और आपको परेशानी का सामना करना पड़ा. आपने शिकायत की और आपको परेशानी की शिकायत करनी भी है. हम ऐसे जगड़ गए दुनिया के वकायदे में, जैसे का वहां कोरिया में लड़ाई हुई, उसका असर यहां पड़, चीजों के दाम बढ़ जाता है. अमेरिका में कुछ हो जाए, उसका असर यहां पर चीजों पर, उसके दाम पर पड़ता है. Unquote. Korea, America, in 1951, when India was not globally connected, that can be used for justifying a price rise. But if genuinely today Ukraine is hitting us, sir, and if we say war is causing the price rise, it's not acceptable. How can this dogla, sir? And final statement, sir, dohra. Finally, sir, we as a government and Prime Minister Modi as a Prime Minister and as a Chief Minister strongly believed in lowering taxes, bringing the burden on common man to be lesser, and we are continuously successfully doing it steadily. Just to compare what prevailed earlier, sir, and today. Sir, in February 28, 1970 Union Budget, in a speech, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who also held the Finance Minister's office at that time, increased the marginal tax rate by 11 percentage points to 93.5% on all incomes above 2 lakh. 93.5. Indira Gandhi's budget speech in 1970, I'm quoting, sir. With the addition of the surcharge at 10%, the maximum rate of 93.5% will now be reached in the slab over 2 lakh rupees, as against 82.5% in the slab over 2.5 lakh at present, unquote. I dread to read this, sir, 93.5% tax. And today when we do 1% TDS, we are being mocked at, we are being hit at. Just to bring it to the current day economy. As per our current tax slab, sir, the highest tax slab for those earning more than 10 lakh is just 30%. Under the new and optional tax slabs announced in 2020, this rate is 30%, and that rate would apply to earnings more than 15 lakhs. So, tax is a matter in which the Congress party never thought of reducing the common man's burden, whereas we are constantly working to make sure that people are not burdened, and we give them maximum benefit through the various ways, and people who make and run businesses are treated with a sense of pride so that they can create jobs. We don't treat them as people from whom we have to suck out everything so that, we have the vicarious pleasure of killing their business as well. We don't do that. So with that, sir, I seek your support and also the entire House's support.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं मंत्री महोदय से जानना चाहूंगा कि हमने एक बात उठाई थी जीएसटी कॉम्पेंसेशन को लेकर कि जिस प्रकार से केंद्र सरकार ने स्टार्टअप और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनीज को एक्सटेंशन दिया, क्या ये केंद्र सरकार या जीएसटी काउंसिल ये सोच रही है कि राज्य के वित्तीय परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए कि केंद्र सरकार जीएसटी कॉम्पेंसेशन में भी एक्सटेंशन दे? और सर, मुझे पता नहीं कि दुनिया में किसी भी पार्लियामेंट में 2024 में 1950, 1970 की बात होती है। मैं भी पार्लियामेंट दूसरे डिबेट्स में देखता हूं, ऐसा मैं डिबेट दूसरे देखता नहीं हूं।
सर मेरा नाम लिया था, एक स्मॉल क्वेश्चन इन्होंने।
यहाँ इजाजत स्पीकर देता है, मंत्री जी नहीं देते। प्रश्न है कि विधेयक पर क्या बोल रही है आपको? एक मिनट, हाँ, क्या बोल रहे हैं?
There are two specific issues which happened in the state where I come from, Maharashtra. The allegation was 100 crores, and when the FIR was lodged, it was 1. And similar was 55 lakh allegation, and then they said it was a typo error and it was 5 lakhs. So what happens in such a situation when an allegation is made, and then from 100 crores it's 1 crore, 55 lakhs it's 5 lakhs, and there's an arrest made and there's nothing happened. So is there something where you could put a cap where, is my question.
प्रश्न ये कि आप देना चाहते हैं?
मैं बोल देता हूं सर. सर, member के concern is right. States do have a problem about how they're going to handle their finances. Revenue generation, collection of tax, states and also center are all improving. I'm not saying that's the reason why nothing would happen. As it is from July 22, the cess for compensation payment is already extended till March 26. So, extension has happened to meet the payment dues, because many members do raise this state, the due for this state is so much, that state is so much. Those are not decided by me. The dues are agreed. As of now, 53,000 odd crores are pending, and that is also an amount decided by the council. अभी इतना borrow करके दो, बाद में इतना borrow करके दो, बाद में इसका interest और इसके ऊपर से जो भी देना है, वो सब सेस कलेक्शन जो जुलाई 22 से एक्सटेंड होगा, उसके द्वारा भरपाई करेंगे. ये फॉर्मूला काउंसिल में तय हुआ. सो में जो देना है, अब तक जितना देना है, जैसे तय हुआ वैसे मैंने देखकर आ रही हूं, कुछ बचा नहीं है. मगर ये 53,000 में हाउस में स्पष्ट बोल चुकी हूं कि हाँ पेंडिंग है. मैं कहां इसको छुपा रहा हूं? अरे हमारे एक स्टेट के लिए नहीं दिए, बाकी को दिए, कांग्रेस को नहीं दे रहे, हो बीजेपी को दे रहे. बिल्कुल नहीं जी, बिल्कुल नहीं. ये पॉलिटिक्स करना बंद करिए, बिल्कुल बंद करिए. हर स्टेट को जीएसटी काउंसिल जैसे तय करता है वैसे ही हम देते हैं. अभी तक जो देना है दे चुके हैं. आने वाले 22 से जो कलेक्ट होगा वो इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट का और फॉर्मूला के तहत जो कम पड़ा उसको भरपाई करने के लिए वो ऑलरेडी एक्सटेंडेड टिल जून मार्च 26. सो स्पष्ट है, सबको मालूम है, मगर कुछ अस्त्र नहीं है, इसीलिए इसको पकड़ लो.
प्रश्न है कि विधेयक पर विचार किया जाए.